So this whole process took about 3 to 4 months. Here it is what we should be essentially be presenting. Test match also we sort of figured the same logic out.
What has happened this year is like the biggest thing that has happened, I believe, in terms of designing for Team India.
Correct.
Jersey.
I mean, I've been a cricket lover all my life, and that's one sport I've truly followed. And to an extent where I would be reading magazines on cricket, I'd be watching random Ranji matches. This is all while I was growing up, right? So for me, it was obviously emotional moment. I remember having that meeting with those guys, coming back, and on my way back to the studio, I was, had tears in my eyes, so to say, because of what was asked to do from me.
Right. So, like I did see the Team India jersey recently at the Adidas outlet here, and when I looked at the fabric and the design and stuff, so I just want to know because comfort plays a very important role when it comes to jerseys because apart from the design, it's also the player that's wearing it. So, were there any specifications you thought that needed to be reworked or like in the design to make it suitable for the players?
Absolutely. For us, comfort was the first point for us to say if we have to design something, here are a bunch of things from the catalog of the Adidas fabrics that they have for athletes. And basis that, ended up choosing something that we felt like, it should look cool on ground as well. Sure, it's about the performance, but it should also feel strong enough, right? So that's where we chose one fabric, which is a jacquard fabric of sorts that Adidas has developed and uses across various sports as well. So it's not just specifically that it was made for cricket, but that's something that we use here. And then comes to the whole stitching pattern of things as to how big do we want the collar? Do we want a collar? Do we not want a collar? So between all three formats, everything was different, right? The whole build of it, for example, ODI, it had a collar, but the collar had like a tipping of an orange color. Subtle details. What we also wanted to have was, how the cut and sew patterns of a building a jersey is. Included a mesh underneath the underarm, so even while they're sweating, it's something that doesn't stay on the fabric itself. It had a mesh which had holes to it, so it was something that the athletes felt comfortable, didn't feel
Okay.
sticky, it was breathable as a material. So for them to be on ground for us, it was something that they would feel comfortable. So that was essentially our first point to say that this is the fabric we should be using. This is the kind of different fabrics that we should be using. Underarms and things, collar, the buttons, how many buttons. For example, we've not gone with we've chosen one button, so to say. Beyond that, T20, we didn't choose a collar altogether. We said, let's not,
Right.
because the format of the game is very short and it can be something that's sporty, and it's not something where we are focusing more on the collar details. Um, as far as everything that goes, ODI T20 also had like a raglan sleeve build, which was more sporty again, which was more with the kind of format it is. So obviously that was something where we did spend a lot of time before we got on to say, okay, let's now work on what the print pattern would be on, right? So test match also we sort of figured the same logic out. And as in once that was okay, that's when we sort of got on to sampling the whole thing out while we were also at the background doing print patterns and things like that, which was
Right.
something we sort of went into. So this whole process took about 3 to 4 months for us to finalize artworks, to finalize patterns, to finalize, okay, like here it is what we should be essentially be presenting.
Okay. So in terms of but were there anything else apart like you mentioned the patterns? Like one of your posts you mentioned that the use of ikat in terms of because like you mentioned that you've been very close to when it comes to Indian handicrafts. And yes, exactly. So the is there was there like a deliberate reason as in did you deliberately intentionally use it in the jersey like to kind of
We
represent India?
Yeah, we had a lot of options, obviously, for us to say, but Ikat was also something we sort of closed in on because I felt strongly about crafts of India, right? Because we wanted to sort of rather than it being a generic sporty print, we said, why can't we sort of also talk about something that we have as a country that we should be proud of, like textile for that matter. And we felt like, create a pattern that sort of is sporty enough, and that way we felt ikkat as a pattern could very well come across as one for it to sort of be on the jersey as well, right? To have designs that are sporty as well, but also come from the fact that it's also a craft of India for us to put a motif that works in the both. So idea was to marry the two together, and also so to say that how can we further give it a story that we can sort of use. So we took the idea of, let's say, a tiger, which is also the national animal for us,
Mhm.
and so to say that there's a pattern on a tiger's back, and that
Right.
what if that was made using ikat, and how do we sort of marry the whole idea of crafts but also do with the pattern of tiger, and how it can also come across as something that's fearless at the same time. We sort of wanted to create a concept of the whole, and that's how we sort of ended up going ahead with what we see being worn by the players today.
So, if I had to ask you, which, like now we've seen the designs on the current cricketers, and they look amazing. And if I had to ask you, is there a former cricketer from the Indian cricket team that you would have loved to, have your designs on them? Who would it be?
I mean, it's easy. It's two of them. It's Sachin Tendulkar for sure,
Okay.
MS Dhoni as well, because I feel like growing up, obviously Sachin was and still is, for someone who, so to say, that when it comes to cricket, that's the first name that comes in your head, because for a nation like ours, we've always relied on Sachin for us winning, right? And for MS Dhoni, for obvious reasons, he's one captain that we've had who's got all the trophies back home, barring obviously the test, which started very recently as well. It's after he retired. So yeah, having said that, I feel these two players for sure.